Okay, we're up to Berachos Daf Hey. We're beginning the Gemara on Daf Dalit on the days. Daf Dalit on the days. We're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines up from the bottom. Amar Elazar Beravina. We're in the sugya of Kriya Shema. We digressed a little bit and we mentioned a member of the name of Elazar Beravina. So we're mentioning another one. Amar Elazar Beravina. Gadol Mashinema BeMichael. It's greater what it says by the Malach Michael. Yosim Mashinema BeGavriel. Greater than what it says by the Malach Gavriel. Il Michael Ksiv. By Michael it says, Vayov Elai Echad Min Asrafim. And he flew to me one of the Srafim. Il Gabi Gavriel Ksiv Yish Gavriel Asher Isi B'Chazayim Betchila Muaf Biof. So by Michael it says the Lashon Mat. By Michael it says the Lashon. So it says by Michael it says Lashon of Ayov once, like Mashma, it's a direct flight. By Gabriel it says Lashon Muaf twice. Mashma that there's a stopover. By Mashma Echad Michael, who now it doesn't say by Gabriel, the pasuk says Gabriel openly. Ayov Elai Echad Min Asrafim. How do you know that Echad Min Asrafim is Michael? Rabbi Yochanan Asi Echad Echad. We have a Gzer Shavik. It says over here Vayov Elai Echad Min Asrafim. Ksiv Hasam Hine Michael Echad Hasorim Arishonim. Bala Azrani, you can't tell me. So Echad is there. It says openly it's Michael. So to the Echad in the pasuk Vayov Elai Echad Min Asrafim is Michael. Tana Michael Ba'achas Gabriel B'Shtayim Aliyo Ba'arba. He has to take a long-winded flight. Malachamavis B'Shmaina. That's a very long time. However, B'Shtasam Agefa he comes Ba'achas. He comes quickly, unfortunately. I'm Yishuman Levi. After Bishakara, now back to the regular schedule program. I'm Yishuman Levi. After Bishakara, on Kriya Shema basic Knesses, even if you read by my review, read Kriya Shema, mitzvah l'kreis al mitasa, it's mitzvah to go ahead and say it by your bed. I'm Rabbi Yosi Micro, what's the pasuk? What's this? Rigzu al techatu, imru b'vavchem al mishkavchem. Imru b'vavchem al mishkavchem, v'doimu sela. So by mishkavchem, b'shas shchiva, when you lie down, then that you should say Kriya Shema. You should say the Bamshal will Bavchem. Remember Nachman in Talmud Chacham Muhammad Aleph, he said Talmud Chacham ain't Sarach, you don't need it. The Talmud Chacham does not need the Shmira that what we'll see that Kriya Shema affords. I'm Rabbi Av Talmud Chacham Yiboyle. No, he still has to say it. Chalis Chad Pesuka Derachma. Even one pasuk of Bakasha of Rachmanis Kegoin B'Yodcha Af Geruchi Padisai Si Hashem KLMS. So I'm Rabbi Levi Dav that pasuk. I'm a person should check his Yetzer Toiv against his Yetzer Hara. Shnemar Rigzu Val Techatov. Hello.
Hi, Rabbi Stern.
Hi, Tully. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
I don't know what a Mazel Tov is, but I know I have to send it to you.
Okay, there's 2 Mazel Tovs. One, I had an girl, but that's not what you sent me for. The Mazel Tov you sent me for is we're finishing the Sefti Yavamis.
Oh,
we're finishing the Sefti Yavamis, which is a huge accomplishment. So therefore, we're. Okay, stop that interruption. Whatever. Here you go. So a person shouldn't chepa his Yetzer Tov against his Yetzer Hara. Shnemar Rigzu Val Techatu. Im Nitzchu, if you matzliach mutav, great. V'im lav yasik b'torish b'yasik b'torish. Shnemar Imru Vavchem Im Nitzchu Mutav. V'im lav Yikor Kriya Shema. Shnemar Al Mishkavtem Im Nitzchu Mutav. V'im lav Yiskul Yom HaMisor. Remember the Yom HaMisor. Shnemar V'doimu Sela. So that's a way to go ahead. The pasuk that we mentioned earlier, Rigzval Techatohu, that's a way to go ahead and deal with the Yetzer Hara. First be Yosef and Torah, then read Kriya Shema, and if not, then go ahead and remember the Yom HaMisor. But there's a Seif Haflah that you find. That Haflah wrote a Seif on Chumash. So the Haflah wrote a Seif on the Torah called Panim Yafais. And basically, he asked the question, L'chora, the best way, it seems the ultimate way is to remember Yom HaMisah. So why go through the motions of, first of all, remembering Torah, and then, if not that, Kriya Shema, and then remember the day of death. Go right to the day of death, and you'll be okay. It's a beautiful teretz. He says like this. He says, there's 2 reasons a person can go ahead and choose the positive, either because for the positive itself or the fear of the negative. I'm using my own words. So, for example, you can learn Torah for two reasons. You can learn Torah because Torah is Torah's Chaim, or you can learn Torah because that's the right thing to do when you're scared of Gehenna. Because fear of Gehenna is like living your life on a respirator. The other one is living your life full of life. So if you go ahead and you want to go ahead and fight the Yetzer Hara, if you choose Torah for the sake of Torah, that's you chose life. You're alive. But if you can remember the Yom HaMisa, then it's not you chose because of Torah. There, it's the default. It's because you're worried about death and the Gehenna. So good, you could do that, but who wants to live on a respirator? That's the way the Panam Yafais, the Mahafla, and the Sefer explains this in it. V'am Reb Levi, Bar Chama, Am Shem ben Lakish, Ma'idich Siv, ve'etna luchas Even, v'Torah v'Mitzvahs asher kasati l'hoyroisam luchais, elu aser sedibrois. Torah ze mikras chumash, v'Mitzvah ze mishnas mishnayos, asher kasafti, elu neviim ksuvim, l'hoyrosam ze gemara. Everything, all of Judaica, all literature, all Talmud, every single thing. Moshe didn't get just a seres of dibros. Moshe didn't get saved by mitzvahs. Moshe got every single chiddush on every single tosfos and every single marsha. Everything was given to Moshe. All was given to Moshe, and he gave it to us. Anyone reads Kriya Shema Mita, Kilo Oiches Cheresh Shel Shtei Pias Biyada. It's like you're holding a two-edged sword in his hand. Shnemar, Roimois Kel Begroinam Becher Pias Biyada. My mashma, Am Mazuch Vitim Ravashim Reisha Dinyana. Except Yalzu Chasidim Bechavoid, Iranu Al Mishkavaisam. They're singing Al Mishkavaisam. They're singing on the beds. What's the arena? You sing on your bed. That's Kriya Shema. Uksiv Basrei, Roimois El Begroinam Becher Pias Biyadam. So you see that when you're singing on your bed, what are you holding? You're holding for protection. Anyone reads Kriya Shema on his bed, Mazikim Shadim, they'll go ahead and they'll separate from him. Tomorrow we'll discuss Shadim more in the next half. Shnemar, B'nei Reshef, Yagbiu Oif, they soar in flight. B'nei Reshef, Yagbiu Uf, Ve'inu Ofel Torah. Shnemar, Hasoyef Einecha Boi Beinenu. You close your eyes and they're gone. Bein Reshev Elamazikin. Shenemar, it says Mizei Ra'av, bloating of famine. Ulachume Reshef, the Ketev Meriri. Now we know Ketev Meriri are demons, and Ra'av is Ra'av. The question is what's Reshef? It's in the middle. So like this Pshat, Reshef refers to what? Similar to Ketev Meriri, it's referring to demons. Amr Shem ben Lakish. Anyone's Isaac Torah, Yisurim will separate from him. Shnemar u'bnei Reshev yagbiu uf ve'inu fellow Torah, and so Shnemar hatoyif einecha boy ve'inenu. It's not there. Ve'in Reshev el Yisurim. Shnemar mizei rov l'chei Reshev. So if you learn Torah, you don't have to worry about Yisurim. I'm really Rabbi Yochanan. Everyone knows that if you learn Torah, that Yisurim will leave you. Why do you need this fancy pasuk from Yoav? You can say it's a mamash pasuk in the Torah in Shemais. You hearken to his mitzvahs. All the machla, all these Yisurim, literally that I placed on Mitzrayim. I don't place them on you. I am Asher Reifecha. What do you have to say? The pasuk in Yoav is coming to teach me. Anyone, it's possible to learn Torah. That if a person is possible to learn Torah, he has time to learn Torah, and he's not Isaac in Torah, it goes ahead, he brings in the Yisurim that will make him ugly, Yisurim make him repulsive. Shnemar, it says, the pasuk says, Na'amti to Mia, I became mute with stillness. Hechashesi, I was silent. Mituv, from good. Uke evi nechar, my pain became repulsive. They ain't Torah. So therefore, why would these things come upon me? Because I was toiv from toiv, and toiv is Torah. Shnema kilak of toiv nasati lachem teirasi al tazov. So you see, it's called kilak. Toiv is Torah. I'm Rav Zeir Vitem Rav Chanina. But Papa Boreish like me this Kodesh Baruch me this passive dam. Me this passive dam. Adam meicha chayfetz chavero meicha atzev. In the old days you didn't sell stuff. This man is that we sell. They're peddlers. In the old days you would only sell when you needed the funds. So therefore, when you sell something, it'll be right very hard on you. For the kech sameach, and the purchaser will be happy. Kodesh Baruch Hu einu ken. Kodesh Baruch Hu is not like that. Nasam lehem Torah Yisrael. The samach he gave Torah to Yisrael and he was happy. Shnemar kila katov nasati lachem teirasi al tazayvu. Amar Rav Yitem Rav Chisda, in Roya Adam Shisurim Bani Love, if a person says Yisurim are coming upon him, if Ashvesh and Mice of them check his action. Shnemar, Nachbasha Derachenu V'nach Kaira V'nashuva Ad Hashem. And return to Kodesh Baruch Hu. Check your actions. Pishpesh Leimatzav, you check your actions and you find. Yitla B'bitl Torah, then you be toilets B'bitl Torah. Shnemar, Ashrei Agev Asher Tiyasrenu Kav. Fortunate is the man that Kodesh Baruch Hu afflicts him with the Rascha Tilamdenu. V'm Tolav Leimatzav, but you do it, and if you go ahead and you see that it's not any one of these things, Pishpesh Maisa, Vorad, or Bittul Torah, then you do a Yisurim Shel Ava. You can be sure that the Yisurim of Ava. You can be sure that the Yisurim of Ava. So when it comes to Yisurim Shel Ava, right, Rashi explains on the left side, Daf Hey, Amid Aleph, Rashi explains what is Yisurim Shel Ava. HaKadosh Baruch Hu miyasrei b'olam hazeh. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will afflict the person in this world below shemavin, without any avera. Teledek, in other words, you didn't do anything wrong. Nonetheless, the Kodesh Baruch Hu will go ahead and give the person yisurim kidei laharbois scharoi boilam haba, to increase his schar in the next world. Yosim echteis chuyosav, more than his chusim. It's an unbelievable Rashi. That Rashi says that a person can be afflicted in this world in order to increase his schar in the next world. This is Rashi Shita. It's an unbelievable sefer called Rav Moshe Chaim, called Nefesh Hashem. What's Nefesh Hashem? What's the lashon? Nefesh Hashem. Yeah, I think that. Right? Derech Hashem, not Nefesh Hashem. Excuse me, Derech Hashem. It's called Derech Hashem. And I'll tell you in the sefer Derech Hashem, in Perik Beis, Chelik Gimel, and I guess it's Sif Shmona. So my Chavatoi, Rav Michal Naftali Steinberg, Yerushalayim, Rav Choshev, Agoyin, Demis Agoyin, he said to me once, he said he was around when Rosh Hashiva was sick. Rosh Hashiva was the greatest person we ever saw, Rabbi Yisrael Zev Gusman. He was the greatest person we ever saw. And B'Seif Yamav, he had a stroke and he was sick. And it was hard for the people around him to understand how could a great tzaddik suffer so much. And he found in the Sefer Derech Hashem the following: that there are favors that are prati on individuals, and there are favors on kolis on the tzibur. And often HaKadosh Baruch Hu will find a tzaddik that's great enough to go ahead and receive the averas of the tzibur. So even though he didn't do the avera, he's going to go ahead and pay the price, kaviyachol, for the tzibur. And as a result, naturally, he will get rewarded. And this is what Rashi is saying over here individually, on an individual level, where a person could possibly go ahead, not do an avera, and go ahead and be punished, kaviyachol, go through yisurim, not as a punishment, but as a way of increasing his schar. Why would HaKadosh Baruch Hu do it? It would make sense with Derech Hashem, because there's some type of gezerah on the tzibur. Now, be aware that this is a very philosophically, it's a big discussion. The Ramban in the Shara Gemul, he goes through this whole Gemara about first of all, about checking your maisim to make sure you didn't do any loisasei. Then bittul Torah, then go ahead, maybe it's mitzvah. And then if you can't figure this all out, it must be Yisurim Shalava. And here's the lashon of the Ramban in the Shara Gemul. Umishlei motza af elu. Right, you don't find that you were mevatel a loisasei or an asay. You mekayim both. Hutzad gomer, the yisur of him yisurim shalava, and then the yisurim that is undergoing is yisurim shalava. Upirish zeh yisurim al miut averis she'asa b'shgaga, and these yisurim come because of the averis that he did b'shogeg, or was hidden from him something. Kigoin she'akol chelev b'shogeg, he ate chelev b'shogeg. Even though the Torah calls it shogeg chayta, because he wasn't so scared, he wasn't careful. He didn't check out well enough. So therefore, that would be the reason for Yisurim Shel Ava, where a person went ahead and was speaking about something that the punishment for a shogeg, but not like Rashi that Hashem could possibly punish you for something you didn't do. So it seems to be a big philosophical difference between the Rishonim, the Ramban versus Rashi, and the Derech Hashem, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Lutzatto go agreeing with Rad in the way of Rashi. So therefore, Amarav Schayra Amarav Huna. Kol Kodesh Baruch Hu Chafetz Boy Matchoy Yisurim. Many Kodesh Baruch Hu Chafetz Boy desires him. He crushes him Yisurim. Shnema Hashem Chafetz Dachoy Echeli. He goes ahead. He crushes him with sickness. Yachla Afilu Lekiblam Mi'ava. I might think even if the person's not Makabel the Ava. In other words, for Hashem will only go ahead and do it if the person's Makabel it. If he's not, how do you know if he's not? Talmud Leimar in Tosim Asham Nafshoy. Right? Not Asham, just like covering Asham. Ladas is only with the person's das. If Yisurim, so to Yisurim Shalava is only Ladas if the person goes ahead and is Ladas. Kibla Maschar, if he's Makabel them, what's his schar? It says Yira Zera Yarach Yomim. He'll see children that what? They'll be Yarach Yomim. Not only that, Talmudim Miskaim B'Yadai, his Talmud Miskaim in his hand, Shnemar B'Chefetz Hashem B'Yadai Yitzlach. So this daf, I've written on the slide over here, this daf fell out on Rosh Hashanah of the second yard site of my father, Olav Shalom. The second yard site. So we see over here, if the person's Makal B'Yisurim Ba'ava, that he'll have children that he'll have Rikas Yomim, and he'll also have what? That his Torah will remain with him. And in Yohanan, my son said, Zaidi was Makal B'Yisurim Ba'ava, and the Mela, his Torah remained with him. Rav Yaakov Aridi, Rav Achabar Achinina Chadama, it says, but the Chayvus Shem B'Yadi Yitzlach. Now, Pligi Bar Rav Yaakov Aridi, the Rebbe Achabar Achinina Chadama, Elohim Yisurim Shalava, but Kol Shem Ben Bittul Torah. If it's not Bittul Torah, then it's Yisurim Shalava. Shnemar, Ashri Ageva Shet Yasrenu Ka. Fortunate is the man that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is Miyaser, Umitaras Tamdenu. In other words, he doesn't leave the Torah. So therefore, if he didn't leave the Torah, therefore the Yisurim must be Shalava. Because again, he's learning Torah. So conversely, if he's not learning Torah, then Bittul Torah, then the Yisurim and not Yisurim Shalava. What's Yisurim Shalava? Kol shein ben Bittul Tefillah. So one says Bittul Torah, one says Bittul Tefillah. Shnemar Baruch Elokim Ashaloi Heser Tefillasi. B'chaz Lameiti. Blessed HaKadosh Baruch Hu does not remove me my Tefillah and my Chesed from Bam. Amlu Rav Abba by Rav Chia Bar Abba. Hachiyam Rav Chia Bar Abba. Whether it's Bittul Torah, whether it's Bittul Tefillah, Yisurim Shalava. Both of these are Yisurim Shalava. Shnemar, both are correct. Kiss Hashem Yav, Hashem Yochiach, that Hashem loves, Hashem is Yochiach. Why did they have to limit it to what? Saying with the Rasla, Talamdenu, Mashma Tzbat, has to do with the fact that he's learning Torah. Al Tikri Talamdenu, he teaches him, Elo Tamdenu, he teaches us. Davazemi Tarasal Tamdenu. This, the HaKadosh Baruch Hu taught us this, Yisum Shalava from the Torah. Kavachem Mishem Va'ayin. Shem Va'ayin, if you knock out the Evid Ivri, and Evid Kanani, if you knock out Shem Va'ayin, he goes free. Mashem Va'ayin, Shem Echemei Var Shaladam, only one of the limbs of a person. Evid Yotzeh Behem L'Cheres, and Evid Kanani will go out L'Cheros, and nonetheless, so Yisurim Shemamara Kol Gufo, you're not limited to the eye, you're not limited to the tooth, but what? He'll go ahead and it's Mamarik, it goes ahead and cleanses the whole body. Shaladam Alachas Kama V'Kama, certainly Alachas Kama V'Kama, that what? He will go free. It says bris b'melach v'nema bris b'yisurim. Nema bris b'melach by what? Al kar korban tach b'melach. T'ksiv leisash bris melach bris. If you don't go, it's yarvin al leisase. If you don't put the salt upon the carbon, v'nema bris b'yisurim. T'ksiv elu divei habris. Bris on melach melach mem tekas zabasa. Melach has the capacity to go ahead and sweeten meat. Af bris ha'im b'yisurim yisurim rakal ben shaladam goes ahead. And it's Maraik, it cleanses all the awareness of a person. Kodesh Baruch Hu gave 3 matanos to Yisrael. Again, all these came out of Yisurim. Elohim Torah is 1, Eretz Yisrael is 2, the Olam Haba is 3. Torah Minayin, the having the Torah comes out of Yisurim. Shnemar Ashri Ageva Ashet Yasrenu Ka Mutarasta Tilamdenu. Eretz Yisrael, the Chsiv ki kasher yaser ishes b'noi, just like a person goes ahead and is miyaser son. Hashem alekechem yasrecha u'chsiv basrei Hashem alekechem evi'acha eretz toiva. Ha'olam haba the Chsiv ki ner mitzvah v'toira or the derech chaim techachas musar. The derech chaim the Ha'olam haba is techachas musar. So musar obviously is alluding to Yisur. Tana Kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Aside Rabbi sent from Rabbi Yochanan, who Rabbi Yochanan is we're going to see was the ultimate by Yisurim. Anyone who's Isaac and Torah Chasadim, the Koiver as Bonav and buries his sons, you can be assured that what? That your all your awareness are forgiven. The Chesed and the MS oven will be what? Will be atoned. Chesed Zuginas Chasodim. Shnemar Roidev Tzedakah v'Chesed. Yim Tzachayim Tzedakah v'Kavod. Emes Sutayra Shnemar Emes Knei Vel Timchar. El Koves Bonav Minayin. How do you know? Tanolei Hahusaba Mishum B'Shem Meichoy. An eldest learned the front of B'Shem Meichoy. Asya Oven Oven Gezer Shava Oven Oven. Right. So we said three things that Kamal Yid Surim is Torah, Eretz Yisrael, and Olam Haba. So the Gemara on the Amid base tells us, right, that and excuse me, and we did that already. And then the Gemara said that when anyone is Isaac Torah and Gemilas Chasadim and buries his sons will be Moich Leikol Van Yisrael. So let's start from the top again. I'm going to be Rabbi Yochanan Bishna Torah Gemilas Chasadim Tafsir B'Chesed V'Mizchu B'Ravan. Chesed zu Gemilas Chasadim. Shnemar Roidev Tzedakah B'Chesed Yimtza Chaim. Tzedakah B'Chavod. Emes Torah. Shnemar Emes Knei Val Timcha. Elokoyves Bonav Minayin. Tanal Hu Sabah Mishum B'Shum Echoi. Asyu Oven Oven. Ksiv Chacha B'Chesed Yemesichu B'Ravoin. Ksiv Chasam U'Mishalim Oven Avos Al Chek B'Neihem. So if they go ahead, they'll if they follow, if the son follows in the ways of the father, they'll take retribution from him. So the death of a child will be what? Will be a kapara. Just like a carbon oven is kapara, so the death of a child. I'm Rabbi Yochanan, the goyim ubonim, the goyim ubonim, and l'chayra bonim is children. Rashi says, Kosal kedaita chakoivres bonav, any yisurim shalava. They're not yisurim shalava. They're not. V'negoyim loy v'tanya kol mi sheyesh by echa me'abar maris negoyim. Anyone is for maris negoyim halolu ein ela mizbeach kapara. Right, you see that what that is, right? It's sakadaita that yisurim shel ava. That's kapara. It says on the mizbeach kapara have it's mechapelite in mizbeach, but yisurim shel ava loy katani. Right? The yisurim can that kama yidei achet. Yisurim that kama yidei achet, then it'll be mechapa, just like mizbeach is mechapa for averis that kama yidei achet. Okay, so to the goyim will. Masha enkein yisurim shel ava. Then what? Then Yisurim shel ava loy have. They will not go ahead and mechapa. Everybody sema hein lon v'hein lahu. Depends. In Bavel and Eretz Yisrael. If you Rashi says if you're in Eretz Yisrael where you have to be sent out of chutz l'shalish machnes, then it's Yisurim shel ava. But the goyim and chutz la'aretz would not be. Taisus says l'chayra. Rabbi Yochanan lived way after there wasn't a din of shluch. Mitzrayim is only shluach is only noig is ban yovel. Yovel was not noig even in the time of the Tanoim. Very early on, yovel, because when the Asar Shvatim are there, only when all the Shvatim are the Nachles is yovel noig. So when there was even before the time of Tanoim, the time of when Sancheirav came was involved and took that put the gullus the Sarah Shvatim, it wasn't Yovel. So it wasn't Yovel, it was no Shluach, so I'm speaking about. So I saw two truths in places of Rosh wants to tell you that maybe that the Kedusha of the Batei Arechaima is not Noeg, but Shluch with Sarah, according to my name, the Kedusha we showing the Kitchel Shaita, the Kitchel Esalavai, it would be Noeg, as long as it's Kaddish. According to the Tzlach, that Yerushalayim has a din of Machne Yisrael, and therefore there will be a din even Shalei Bezman Abayis, where you wouldn't have Machne Shechina, right? Because the base of English didn't exist, but you would have Machne Yisrael, and Mitzvah sent out Shalom Machlis, you'd have to send them out of Yerushalayim. By saying a third teretz of Bitzina B'Fehesya. If it's Bitzina, it's the Negoyim Yisrael Shalava. If it's by Fehesya, it's not. Ubanim loy like Hechidani. Elam with the Havi Lahu Mesu. If you're going to say Bonim means that they're not Yisrael Shalava, what does that mean? That he had them and they were lost, that they were nifta. He used to carry around the bone of his 10th son. He buried 10 children. The Aruch says it wasn't a bone; it was a shame because the bone is mitamek b'dechadacha. It's mitamek the bone of a mace is mitamek b'soira the barley bean. So l'chari, how could he carry it around? That's to mace. So he said it was a tooth, and a tooth would not carry it. So but means if it's Yisrael Shalava, if you don't have any sons, right then it's not Yisrael Shalava. And if you did have and they died, then it's Yisrael Shalava. So if you didn't have any children, it's not Yisrael Shalava. If you had children, they were nifta, it's Yisrael Shalava. Rabbi Bar got sick, all the Rabbi Yochanan went to visit him. Amalei. So Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Barabba, Chavinu lechi yisurim. Amalei lehin leischaron. Again, as we said in the Yom Aleph, yisurim shel ava are only if you're makabel. If you're not makabel, because Baruch Hu doesn't want to give it to you. So therefore, Rabbi Barabba told Yochanan, no, he's not. He doesn't need them nor the schar. Amalei. So Rabbi Yochanan said, "Hov liyotva, give me your hand." Yav leyodei ukmei, and he made him better. And a similar ma'aser, Rabbi Yochanan cholish. Rabbi Yochanan got sick. Olegambei Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina came to visit Rabbi Yochanan. Amalei chviu lechi yisurim. He said to Rabbi Yochanan, "Is it chavti yisurim?" Amalei lehein leischaron. He said, "Not." Amalei hov liyotcha, give me your hand. Yav leyodei, he gave Rabbi his hand, and Rabbi Chanina his hand, and he made Rabbi Yochanan. Right, the Gemara, right? I'm like, how do you but am I looking Rabbi Yochanan Nafshe? Rabbi Yochanan had this remedy. Like, why didn't he take care of himself? Why do you have to need Rabbi to do it? A prisoner can't let himself out of prison, so therefore he couldn't do it for himself. But Rabbi Chanina could do it for him. Rabbi Loza got sick. This is Rabbi Loza ben Pados, one of the Talmud Muvak of Rabbi Yochanan, as opposed to Rabbi Loza ben Shamua was a Tana. Rabbi Loza Cholash, all the guy Rabbi Yochanan Chosi Davi Kogoni bebeis Eifel. He saw that Rabbi Loza was lying in a dark room. So Galyad Ladare, he went ahead and he revealed his arm. Rabbi Yochanan revealed his arm, V'nafal Mehura, and mamish light filled up the house. Right. So again, we find some people that are luminous, their beauty. The Gemara in Baba Basra speaks about Adam Arishain, that when Adam was nifta, afilu a kavav hoyakagali achama, even his heels were like the fiery sun. We find that Bathsheba, David was able to see Bathsheba because there was a luminous. So the beauty of Rabbi Yochanan, there was this luminous that they were able to go ahead and push and light up things. So here, Rabbi Kabachis, the Chassid Rabbi Kabachis, so Rabbi Loza saw that Rabbi Yochanan saw that Rabbi Loza Padas was crying. Amalei, my Kabachis, why are you crying? Imishim Torah, Delei Afashta. Shaninu echad amar v'echad amayim v'achi chavim b'shamayim usually you mechabim. B'mishum is saying that you're poor like halavim zayich l'shtei l'chanas. You have Torah, so you can't have everything. B'mishum banai, and if because you don't have any children, dein gamra dasir is beer. Here, look, there's my 10th son. So Amalei, no. So I'll tell you why I'm crying. L'hai shufra the boli ba'afra. It's this beauty that will go ahead and be buried in the ground. I'm crying about. Amalei. Said Rabbi Yochanan, al da vade kabachas, and that vade it's where to cry, ubacha travayu, and they both cry. Okay, so now to think that Rabbi Yochanan was certainly beautiful. With the Gemara, many Gemaras speak about his beauty. He wait by the mikveh that woman should see him. Gemara Bava Mitzia, Rabbi Shlakish jumped in to kill him, and he was so impressed by his looks. And he said, "I'll give you my sister." This beauty of Rabbi Yochanan is, but stam to cry for that's not pshat. So the Marsha says beautifully. Marsha says the Gemara tells us that Rabbi Yochanan was the Mishairi Yofish Yerushalayim. He was from the leftovers of the beautiful people of Yerushalayim. He's Yerushalayim Yid. Those people have been Yerushalayim. You know, it's Yerushalayim Yid. There's something uniquely special. A Holocaust survivor, something uniquely special. You're the last. So Rabbi Yochanan was the last. So this is going to be gone. This beauty, of Yerushalayim, that there won't be a hemshech of this. There won't be a messiah of this. That's what they're crying about. Not the physical beauty, but the spiritual, unique beauty of these Yid. That's what the Marsha explains in the Gemara. The Hachi, as they were going through this, Amalei, so Rabbi Yochanan said to Rabbi Loza and Pados, Chavim Alechi Yisurim, Mayichav, these Yisurim Shalava. So Amalei, so Rabbi Loza told them, Lehein Leschar, I don't need them, I don't need the schar. Amalei, so Rabbi Yochanan told him, Havli Yochanan, give me your hand, Yodei Yodei B'ukmei. He gave him his hand, and he got better. I will stop over here.